Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm here today with Cindy Zimmerman. She is the president and CEO of SS Designs, a custom apparel and brand merchandising family owned company in Florida. Cindy's run the company, if I'm correct, for more than 2 decades, right? After taking over from her father. Did I get that right, Cindy?
I've been in the company for 3 decades,
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
officially running it since 2019.
Okay, okay. We are both members of WBENC, which is how I met you, women-owned businesses. Whoop whoop for women-owned businesses. And we met a few years ago at Go for the Greens, I believe, in Orlando. And we've seen one another at various events. You've been in one of my private CEO roundtable conversations. It's also worth noting that Cindy is being recognized this year by WeBank as a WBE Star. It's an honor recognizing women who are driving impact, innovation, and leadership in their fields. So, congratulations, Cindy. I know I've told you that already, but congratulations again on that honor.
Thank you.
Welcome to Leaders Talk Communications. So, Leaders Talk Communications is about understanding how executives manage communications at their business or at their nonprofit. My goal is to have other leaders hear your stories and get insights from you to help them better navigate their own leadership communication. And I also have another sort of sneaky reason for doing this is that I want other communications professionals like me to hear what's on the mind of leaders as it relates to communications so that they can better serve and support you. So I'm going to jump in and ask you to first tell us about SS Designs, a bit of your origin story, because I think that'd be interesting for folks to hear, and of the company, and what inspires you most about the work that you do at SS Designs.
Yeah, happy to share a background. So, SS Designs is a branded apparel company. We actually started in the late 70s, 1978. My dad was a buyer at Disney in the 70s and got involved with the branded apparel space from the purchasing side initially. Ultimately, ended up buying this little screen print company in Winter Haven, Florida, and expanded rapidly over the decades so that we are now serving international clients
Oh,
with design, decoration, distribution, manufacturing, warehousing, all of the above. Our big customers are the big international theme parks everyone loves, big corporates that we do uniforms for, companies for marketing rollouts. So it's a nice mix of fun companies that we get to work with.
and when
Um,
you say it's custom branded, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, so there are lots of businesses that get all of their decorated apparel, hats, bags, totes, kind of things from promotional products resources, which are
Mhm.
great if you need just a couple dozen. They'll take your logo and slap it on a shirt that's available and turn it around. But it's a little bit of lick and stick, is what we call it. What we do is much more integrated to a brand's core identity and to the end user. So because we produce the whole process from design to manufacturing to distribution, we can really integrate a company's identity in all of the little ways that make a product unique and special.
Mm.
So if there's a desire for something that's organic, we can source organic fabric. If you want to have your company's branding integrated through a whole product, we can have neck tape and zipper pulls and special details. We can match your logo's PMS colors for fabrics and trims. We can hit exactly the right product for the end use and the necessity of why something's being designed in the first place. So it makes it truly special and resonates with the recipient in a unique way.
Okay, great. What is it that inspires you most about the work that you do?
We're problem solvers. Everything we do, I feel like it's you meet with somebody, they have a need, and then we're able to use creativity and all of our expertise and experience to design something that's going to be really impactful. We make people look good. Our managers love us, when we can come back to them with a product that's exceptional and feels great and fits great and looks good. It just makes them shine. So we like to be that support system behind the scenes that help folks really execute in a meaningful and better than normal way.
Yeah, and it's reputation as well, isn't it? Like when,
It
when a
is.
brand looks good and employees feel good. I mean, there's so many. I My background is in the airline industry, and I remember with a couple of airlines, both American Airlines and British Airways, we went through a few uniform changes for staff members and the various options that are offered for them, integrating, doing the work with specific designers, and it makes such a difference when employees feel good about what they're wearing and what they so I get it. I mean, I'm just thinking about, extrapolating that to culture and uh, creating costumes we're saying uniforms that are comfortable and amenable to different body types, and all of that is really important. So there are a few different areas of company culture that you actually hit, and company reputation. So who are the different stakeholders that you engage with? I know you've got a number of staff members, you've got partners, you've got customers. Who are those different stakeholders um, that you seek to engage with, influence, inspire? And where do you feel you, as Cindy, where do you feel you thrive in communicating with them?
Yeah, we have all of those different buckets that we're relating to. So we've got about 80 employees. So communicating with them is critical. Keeping our vision front of mind, having them, be working towards a common goal, feeling like they're having an impact in the products we produce. Then our suppliers are actually a key partner too. We have found over the decades that, if you are a good communicator, if you uh, link arms with the people you're asking to help you produce stuff, when you really need them to go to bat for you, they're happy to do it.
Yeah.
And then our customers, the customer relationships are not something we take for granted. Even when we've worked with people for decades, keeping clear communication lines open, understanding what their pressures and responsibilities are, and helping them meet those needs, I think critical to our long-term success.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions. I'm curious, the suppliers that you work with, for example, um, can you give us an example of one way specifically that you connect with them to show them that they're appreciated, or what that looks like in a practical sense to strengthen the relationships with your suppliers, with your partners?
Yeah, so it was funny. We're not a company that requires a lot of whining and dining to make us happy by our suppliers.
Yeah.
It's really more when the rubber meets the road. Can we count on one another? Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
so we try to be very intentional and proactive. If I have a program that's launching that has potential to be solid, we loop in the suppliers of blanks or the factories that we work with very early on to let them know, hey, this is coming. We've
Hmm.
got an opportunity together. Let's do what we can to be proactive and ready to run, and then ready to respond when a program hits. It's funny. It's almost worse to create a product that's awesome and then not be able to get back into it and keep inventory in stock. So one of the things we do is really plan ahead so that we're ready to run. We don't just deliver one great thing and now we're 6 months from being able to back it up, but building a roadmap of success where we can really plan for execution and rollout over time to maintain success. And then there are times when there are fire drills. We've got a great customer who's opening a facility in the middle of June, and they just did a soft launch and sold out of the merchandise that they had delivered initially. And now we're scrambling to meet their needs to be back in stock and fully ready for a grand opening, in the middle of June. So I need suppliers where when I call them, they know I really need it. We try to
Yeah.
minimize the fire drills. If everything's a fire drill, then nothing is important.
Yeah.
So try
Yes,
just
that's so important. Yeah.
save those calls for when we really need it, so they know and that, yeah, again, it's to create some mutual partnership over time,
Yeah.
where rising tides lift all boats and we can all win.
I love that. And I'm sure there's like process in place for, when you talk about planning out 6 months, ensuring that, you'll be able to execute, that there's maybe a backup. And maybe in the case of the fire drill, the backup was you. Yeah, I love that you've got process in place. It sounds that you've got process in place. I'm also curious about employees and connecting them to the vision. Like what is that for leaders who have a vision, know what they want to know, where they want to take the company, but may have trouble communicating that to staff. That's often the challenge. How do we, how does this filter down to our staff so that we're all aligned and working toward the same goal? In a practical sense, what does that look like at SS Designs?
Yeah, so I think practically it means, meeting weekly with the management staff, and communicating to them what's happening, where we are, what's working well, what we're moving towards, where we need to work together to improve. And then assuring that they're trickling that down to their teams too. And then periodically we have, company-wide events. We're on the brink of launching a new ERP system, so Tuesday afternoon, our COO pulled all of the team together to communicate, hey, we're right there. This is what we're doing. We're excited about it. We need your help. We know there will be challenges and bumps in the roads, but there's a great benefit for all of us going forward to have better systems and better tracking and metrics. So I think, keeping that communication honest, still positive, but honest that there will be some challenges, but we can do it together.
Yeah.
I think is the way we work through the constant challenges of continuous improvement. Yeah,
Um,
yes.
you said ERP. What is that? I was just curious.
Yeah. So it's a software tracking system. So we've had for decades, computer systems that track our workflow. So everything from the design through the production to purchase orders and work orders, and tracking them through the production system, so that we've got really great visibility to where we have opportunities to improve efficiencies, where we can confirm, is our costing right? Where are areas that we need to lean into improving? Where are areas that are working well? So we can really track back on an item by item basis all of the inputs, so that we can just do a better job of figuring out what business we're best at, what business we need to look to improve, so that we can have the best mix at the end of the day.
Those efficiencies.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it.
As a domestic manufacturer, and most of my competition is offshore, managing efficiencies and costs is not a small thing. To remain competitive, we've got to be on top of that.
Yeah, that's huge. I would love to dig into that a bit more, but we're supposed to be talking about communication, so I'm gonna switch back. Yeah, because when you've got folks who are producing things offshore, it's and you're producing in the US.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so domestically we do decorating. So we do screen printing and embroidery and patches and all those kind of things. And we can do it off of stock blanks that we can find. And then offshore we can make everything from, dyeing the fabric, knitting the yarn, picking the trim. So we do both. So we've got a good balance.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to switch and talk about challenges now, because we all have challenges communicating with customers, with clients, with employees. What's one of the biggest communications challenges that comes to mind for you that you have faced, and how did you handle it?
Yeah. I think managing a component of our team that is remote is a challenge for communications.
Yeah.
Finding the right balance of regular communication that doesn't feel like oppressive meetings all the time. Being connected enough that they feel supported and integrated into the team, but not over communicating where they, feel like they're being micromanaged. So cadences and rhythms, and figuring out, how to be available enough that they know they can reach out when they need it. It's interesting you're in an office building, people will pop by your office and knock on the door and ask a question, but they're a little more leery if they're not physically in the space.
Yeah.
So figuring out what's the right system, people have different preferences and styles. Our art department works mostly through Teams, and they've got a conversation running all the time where they're communicating with each other and staying integrated as a group.
As creatives do.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. For the couple of workers that are remote in that team. And then the folks we have in our sales and product development team, communicating regularly with the rest of the organization to stay engaged and keep things flowing when you're disparate. Yeah. And then communicate with our.
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
I was going to say, and then communicating with factories we work with who are in different time zones, dramatically different time zones. And then being sure that there's a really regular rhythm of keeping information flowing, when you're 11 or 12 different hours difference.
Yeah, yeah. What sort of platforms do you use with remote employees to keep them? I mean, I'm just, are you using mobile text, or using enterprise applications that are available on the mobile phone? I'm just curious, like if there's how you are connecting staff and communicating with them, and ensuring, for example, that they feel connected even to that vision.
Yeah. So it's pretty, we're not super cutting edge when it comes to communication products. We work through Teams a lot on messaging and have things going there. And then texting and calls, I think picking up a phone call, if it's more than 2 lines of text, then we often will just let's just call.
Yeah, I love that. We have forgotten the art of the phone call, and it's still very powerful.
You can communicate nuance and tone, in a way that's easier to regulate when it's, a voice. So
yeah, it gets lost sometimes in text messages unless you know one another very, very well. I talk about this with my sisters. Like, we know each other. We can read between the lines with our text messages. Okay, so what is we just talked about platforms, but for you, what's the most successful vehicle or platform you use that helps you communicate most effectively with the people who are important to your business?
I think it's a layered approach of regular, email communication to keep projects flowing, regular touch bases. With our biggest customers, we have, with some of them, we have weekly meetings. With some of them, we have monthly meetings, and literal check-ins just to confirm things are moving on a pace that we want them to. Keeping communication at the forefront, just keeps projects moving along. It's the most challenging is when you've got folks that you have a hard time getting face to face with, and things can lag. And, there's that communication quandary of where do I slip into nag mode versus, okay, I'm just being diligent, and we want to make this happen. This is a need for you. What is the pace of that feels comforting and a gentle reminder? I have some customers that I know well enough, when I really need something, I just shoot them a text, hey, just we really need this, following up, and that'll often, spark a response. So
yeah. So it's multiple layers, and I love the reframe from nagging to diligence, and making sure that we can support you in the best way possible.
Yes.
All right. So if you could wave a magic wand, Cindy, what would you want the world to understand most deeply about you or your company, about SS Designs?
Gosh, I think I would want them to understand that there are companies like ours who are available to create really special products in collaboration and partnership, that there's no need to be ordinary, that will help you meet a lot of your unspoken needs. There's been a lot in the media about how, younger generations are just more thoughtful about waste and the reason why there's a resurgence in the vintage market and people wanting to know where things are sourced from. There's been a pivot of I'd rather not just have more stuff. I want it to be quality. I want it to be something that I care about, and that's something that we can help people execute. It's not more expensive. It's not impossible. It's just a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
To align with your brand, to align with your stakeholders, and develop something's going to support all of your interior objectives and make people feel better about what they're receiving.
I love that. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm so frustrated about all of the conferences I attend and the bags and things of stuff I get that I I I don't use, that I won't use. And I'm assuming that the work that you do involves, and you can tell me this, it should involve some level of understanding the audiences that the companies are trying to reach so that there's more knowledge about what people actually want, what they could use. I love this idea of reuse and creating products for companies out of reuse. Those things, if it's important to their employees and it's important to their customers, then it's a part of their value system. So that's really, really cool that you're able to do that. I love it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, um, I think I've always said that I don't want to create the t-shirt that you use to only wash your car as the rag.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's create that item that's going to be beloved.
Mhm.
I'm surprised, at really high level corporates who, it feels like dismissively throw their logo on products that, for conferences or for events that will never be worn again.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
it's not that much harder to do something really special that people will
Mhm.
feel valued and care about and want, and and is in alignment with what companies say is important to them. Their
Yeah,
employees, sustainability, not creating waste, excellence. So
right. Yeah, love it. Thank you so much for your time today, Cindy. I really enjoy speaking with you, and I wish you so much success with SS Designs and have an amazing weekend.
thank you, Jennifer. This has been lovely.